Hey everybody, Sean here, and I hope you're doing well. In a recent video, Standing on Your Head for a Miracle, there was a bit of skepticism on the miracles mentioned from some people. Some even made statements that these were the same types of things that Revealing Truth exposes, but this isn't true, and I wanted to break this down a bit better. Many in the New Apostolic Reformation say, don't put God in a box, when we criticize their trips to heaven, playing catch with Jesus, and much of the other nonsense we hear. But on the other side of the coin, we have to be careful not to disqualify anything that sounds miraculous just as a fraud because we can't fully understand it. The one story was about a couple going through financial problems that went away on a church retreat in the mountains. The husband was stressed and went outside to pray and get some air. He walked by a payphone and it rang. He picked it up and a person said, "Is Bob there?" Surprised, the man said, "Yes, this is Bob." The other person said, "This may sound weird, but God told me to call this number to help a man named Bob with some money." Now, on the surface, I can understand why some people would say that sounds like the stories we expose. So let's look at this rationally. We have to remember that before anything even existed, God knew every thought we'd ever have, everything we'd ever do, and everything about all of our lives. So, one day this person is praying and so thankful for what God has given him. He says, "Lord, you have blessed me with so much, and everything I have is yours. Please guide me to use my finances to bless someone in your name." Then he gets a word of knowledge from the Lord. I'm not talking about an audible voice, but one of those God impressions where you just know it's God. He hears in his spirit, "Bob, 866-1211. Startled, he stops praying and thinks to himself, that was God. After all, John 10:27 tells us that his sheep hear his voice. So he writes down the name and number. Figures if that was from God, I'm sure that a guy named Bob will answer, and assumes it's someone's home phone number. Meanwhile, Bob has just walked out of that meeting stressed and angry at himself. He's praying, "Lord, I know that in Matthew 6, you tell us not to worry and that we should trust in you. I do trust in you, but my worries show that I'm really not trusting in you. I'm so sorry, God." Just then the phone rings and that miracle takes place. Why is that so hard to believe? God can do anything and does amazing things through us. The same thing goes with the story about the headstand. Maybe at the Bible study that girl was attending, people were sharing testimonies of times in their lives when God answered prayers in some amazing ways. She thinks, I've really been limiting how I think God can act based on my own understanding. She repents and says that for the next 30 days, she's going to trust God. And if she believes it's him speaking, that she'll go out on a limb and with faith follow his leading. So the story goes, the cashier at 7-Eleven is going through a very hard time, and she's going to take her life. She's not a true believer, but believes there's a higher power or a God of some sort. So she cries out in desperation that if he's real, that she wants to know. And she makes this crazy comment that unless someone does a headstand, she's going to take her life. And God knows that she will actually follow through with this. But just then, that other girl is driving by and gets one of those God impressions. She just hears, "headstand," and really feels it's God leading her. So as crazy as it may seem, she pulls into the parking lot and does a headstand. No, the parking lot is empty. There's nobody in the store, so it's not to embarrass her. But the cashier comes out running and tells this girl what she just prayed. And what a great opportunity to witness to that girl that would be. Now, the story is a little bit more extreme, but in God's foreknowledge, he can do some amazing things through people for his glory. What a great and mysterious way for him to work. Strengthening the faith of a believer, saving a life, and drawing a non-believer to himself. Whether that story is true, I don't know. But if the person that has that channel is a legitimate believer, then it very well may be. But hearing both of these stories in a short form does make them seem a bit suspicious, I admit. But if we look at it from God's infinite, all-knowing perspective, anything is possible. So in this sense, we can't put God in a box with our limitations. Now, someone like Kat Kerr, on the other hand, that visits heaven all the time, sees Jello playgrounds and Michael Jackson, can be disproven using Scripture, just like many of the other stories we hear from people in the New Apostolic Reformation. And showing these phonies for what they are with the use of Scripture is by no means putting God in a box. But in regards to real miracles versus made-up stories, I hope this does help show the difference. We'll leave it here for today, but please feel free to leave your thoughts and comments below. And until next time, take care and God bless.